Brandon, thanks for coming on today, man.
Appreciate you for having me, man.
Yeah, super stoked. I first saw of you from your podcast that you did with Josh Bridges.
Yeah, that was a good one, man. He's I've looked up for him for like so long, so it's really cool to actually have like an extended conversation instead of just passing by him at competition the one time in 2018. So man, dude, he's a legend.
Yeah, OG, great stash. There's no denying that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely a pivotal person in the CrossFit realm. But then I started to look at your profile as well, and I was like, oh man, this dude. One of the things that stood out to me is that I read your caption. You just got off of was it High Rocks Houston, and then you were immediately running with your kid you were pushing, right?
Yeah. So that was in Boston. I went and ran High
Boston.
Rocks
Okay.
Boston. I ran that race on a Friday, flew home on Saturday, and then went running with my little boy that evening.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah,
reason why that stood out to me is because like everyone, like all the dudes I work with and stuff like that, like, man, it's easy to stay in shape now. Just wait till you have a kids and wife. And I'm like, no, man. There's people
yeah,
that do it. So
yeah,
it's I thought that was just super cool.
yeah,
But
dude. I've heard I've been told I've been told wait until XYZ so many
mhm.
freaking times over the past decade as I was like competing in CrossFit. Wait until you're in school, wait until you're in grad school, wait until you're in residency, wait until you're working full time, wait until you have a kid. And it's like I'm still waiting. Like I just make time, So
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think discipline for sure. That word is in short supply, or at least you're able to cutting your own legs out for you, just giving the excuses right off the rip.
for sure.
Yeah. So you said you had ran into Josh Bridges throughout events, and so I know you have competed in the CrossFit Games 5 times, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's the number.
Yeah, 5 times.
Yeah.
So what do you remember what years those were? I think I was trying to look online.
2018. Yeah, 2018, 2020, 21, 24 and 20 23, 24. Yeah, 23, 24.
Gotcha.
So the 2020 doesn't show up on the CrossFit Games website because there was two different portions to the CrossFit Games that year. It's the year of COVID. So they had like the
Mm,
online CrossFit Games, which was the top 30. And then from the top 30, they took the top 5, brought them to Aromas, to the original ranch where they competed in person.
that's
So
right.
that year they only have those 5 individuals as competitors in the CrossFit Games. But I
Oh wow.
counted. I mean, I consider my like top 30 in the world then, so I still
Oh
consider
yeah.
it the COVID games. So I counted. I tacked that one off. Like, yeah, it's 5. And
Oh
then
yeah.
2023 was on a team. So 4 times as an individual, once on a team.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, definitely some experience there. What did
hmm
your fitness level kind of look like before you got into CrossFit? Were you like a big sports dude, or you just kind of stumbled into it like some people by an invite, or what did your kind of background in
Yeah,
fitness look like?
dude, wrestling was like my first love.
Oh,
I wrestled for 8 years, and through high school, like that was really all I cared about. I didn't care about school or anything. I just wanted to wrestle. Like I'd literally I had my senior year, I had an off hour, whereas like most of the time, every hour of your day was filled with classes. But as a senior, you have the option for an off hour. And so my off hour, I literally spent it in the library watching collegiate wrestlers for an hour straight. Like it was all I cared about.
hmm,
Won 2 state championships in high school. Um, Ranked 30th in the nation as a senior. Uh, Beat a whole host of national champs and just like some absolute studs. And then just decided not to go wrestle in college and go get a physics degree. And
oh,
yeah.
okay,
And then while I was in between like high school and undergrad, my brother had been doing CrossFit for about a year, him and his roommate, while they were in college. And he was home for like a break and was like, "Hey dude, like let's go to this gym. I think you'd really like this." And I immediately fell in love.
yeah,
My second love. Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I imagine it kind of gave you that competitive edge, especially coming from wrestling. I imagine that's pretty much instilled from you through the
100%.
years.
Absolutely. I mean, dude, wrestling, like I loved the training. I would wake up at like 5 a.m. before going to school. I'd go run, I'd pack my own lunch, I'd do calisthenics. Like I was doing Navy SEAL videos in my room before anyone woke up. I'd stay late after practice, just like training. And so then
Yeah.
like find CrossFit where it's just like all about training. I was like, dude, this is so cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, since you said you kind of like fell in love with it, I guess I kind of did too, except my only issue is I got invited by my cousin and I was trying to learn how to do, I've never done kipping pull-ups and all my calluses ripped and
Oh yeah.
I lawn chaired, just, just smashed for sure, just worse, but immediately, I was like, I got to go back for sure. So,
Yeah.
I definitely get that vibe for sure. Um, so when you did kind of get glued to it, did you immediately stick to a gym? Were you kind of popping around? And then what led you to, because some people just train CrossFit in
Hmm.
general. So what made you want to even pursue the CrossFit games? Because, a lot of people are like, there's so many people that compete, it's kind of hard. The competition's there. So how did
Yeah.
that kind of go?
Whenever I started CrossFit, like I had really no intentions of competing. Like I said, I was going into undergrad to get a degree in physics, which is the reason I didn't wrestle, because I knew like if I trained a lot in wrestling, school was just going to fall on the back burner. And so I was like, okay, like I'll just stay in shape here, feed the competitive aspect through the community. So I was at a CrossFit affiliate in Baton Rouge called Red Stick CrossFit, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and like there was a competitive group in that gym, and I don't know if you remember, but like back in 2012, 2013, 2014, they still had regionals,
Yep.
and it,
Yep.
it wasn't super competitive at a regional level, except for maybe the top 10 athletes back then, just because CrossFit was so fresh as a sport. And that first year we had a team go, and team was even less competitive. So like my first year, I was on a team going to compete with the competitive group in our gym. And so like that just kind of started like the competitive aspirations, like going to
Mm.
regionals and seeing those athletes and be like, wow, like these guys are studs. They're all built like superheroes. Like it'd be really cool
Yeah.
to like be here one day. And then just, falling in love with like the training and the process and just getting a little bit better year after year. Um, Around 2017, I kind of realized like I could be like pretty good at this. So I mean that's like 4 years after starting CrossFit, 3 or 4
Yeah.
years after starting CrossFit. It's like, oh, like I could be pretty good. And 2018 ended up qualifying for my first games.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine, at some point when you're in one of those rooms and stuff like that, you tend to look around. And you're like, man, there's some people around here,
Hmm.
and it only kind of humbles you in a way, but it also kind of validates your training a little bit. It helps you
Yeah.
solidify that, like, oh, I've been doing what I should be doing and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I've been one to look at people who have like garnered success in some area of their life and be like, okay, like if I can replicate what they do, then there's no reason that I can't achieve that same level of success. And so, looking at these guys who are built like superheroes is like, okay, like they're humans. Maybe I can just
Mhm.
do that too. So figure it
Yeah.
out.
No, yeah, absolutely. Even on, like on a smaller level, just day to day or friends, stuff like that. It's just like, uh, man, dude, like, how do you come up with this? I'm like, dude, I just look things up, or I just watch videos, just learn from the people around you, soak in as much as you can, type deal. Um,
Absolutely.
so with maintaining your training and stuff like that, like we mentioned earlier, how you kind of got into high rocks, or you did a high rocks, right?
Yeah.
Um, what do you think about the training differences when it comes to training for that? Because high rocks is like huge right now. And I
Yeah.
remember when CrossFit was just massive, booming, like everybody was about it. You can walk in a room without hearing that word, just
Yeah.
CrossFit. So in your opinion, after some experience, what did you think about the differences and how did you kind of balance your
Yeah.
training and stuff?
So I think that's like my fourth High Rocks race. My first one was in 2021, 2022, somewhere around there when it like first kind of got started.
Mm.
They actually like they made me like a High Rocks ambassador back then. I was like, dude, like this stuff's kind of like it's cool, but like it's not going anywhere. But like, dude, they were giving
Okay.
me like free races, like just free entry into any race back then.
Oh.
But like, I went and did one in Dallas. I was like, oh yeah, that was fun. Like, it's
Hmm.
just a running race, and everybody like. And the thing is, like, High Rocks is so interesting because it is you have to be an excellent runner to be good at the sport. Like you can't come in from another sport like CrossFit and expect to have really good success there. It's not true hybrid ish. It's like
Hmm.
it's hybrid to an extent with a massive emphasis on running. And so like if you want to be good at high rocks, like that has to be your major focus. Like you're looking at those top guys, and their VO2 max is just through the roof, their aerobic thresholds through the roof. Um, and sorry, excuse me, my apologies.
You're good, man.
Too many bubbles. Um, but yeah, dude, like they're just incredible runners who are strong enough and fit enough at like the other implements that they can move through it efficiently and then get back on the next run and then just smash it. And so, whenever I train for like that, like I don't train super serious for the high rocks races. And a large part of that is because I'm so dedicated to the program that I write through the Imam company that I'm constantly testing and doing what my community does. And I leave the high rocks portion of our programming, which we do have a high rocks program, to a kid who's insanely good at writing. Like he's a phenomenal runner.
Mm.
Just like an absolute savage. I think he held like a 5:30 pace for a half marathon.
Oof. It's
Just a
cooking.
stud, and he
Yeah.
writes a phenomenal program. He's much more suited for tailoring that program to the needs of high rocks athletes and anyone aspiring to run those high rocks races. And so I use it as just like a fun challenge just to switch it up a little bit. And I've been running quite a bit more just because I've got a 30-mile race in Moab on November 15th.
Oh, nice.
So I've been running a lot. I was like, okay, like I'm gonna go do high rocks. I had an opportunity to go run it with a buddy, so we went up to Boston and hit it.
Nice. So you mentioned the Imam company, right?
Yes, sir.
I did notice. So could you tell us a little bit about the Imam company? Like, what is it? How did it start? What does it stand for? And then, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I mean it's a functional fitness subscription program. Like any like HWPO, Proven, Mayhem, like any of those guys, like they have like a subscription model, new workouts every day. We're a similar program, but it started whenever I moved home to Louisiana to start working in the profession that I'd studied like 8 years for, and like during that period, it was very tough for me to find the time that I previously had whenever I was competing to dedicate to training. I was just like I was working a lot. Um, and so I was like, dude, I've got to stay in shape. Like I can't let that thing slip. And so I kind of fell back into doing 30-minute EMOMs, which was a tool I would use whenever I was in residency in grad school. If I was short on time, hit a 30-minute EMOM, and it would like wipe the floor with me. And like whenever I was done, I was like, okay, I'm good. Like I've achieved fitness for the day.
Yep.
And so I started doing those again in 2020 or 2021, whichever year it was. And I was like, man, like this is super effective. I'm in and out in the gym. Like it's quick, it's effective. I can go back to work and like go about my day. So I just started sharing them on Instagram, like the workouts I was doing. People loved them. Ended up asking my brother-in-law. I was like, hey man, I kind of wonder if like we can make this like a thing.
Hmm.
But I need some help because I'm still full time as a physicist. Uh, can you help me do this? And he's like, yeah, let's give it a shot. So we kind of launched it probably 3 or 4 years ago, and yeah, we've grown every year pretty substantially, and it's been really fun to kind of dive into and like learn that whole side of business and everything. Um, but yeah, dude, and you asked what it stands for.
Hmm.
Uh, it's EMOM is every minute on the minute, right? So I'd say like I do a 30-minute EMOM. I'd basically choose 3 different exercises, choose a set number of reps for a given minute. Once you complete the reps, you rest the remainder of the 60 seconds. So if it takes you 45 seconds to complete the work, you got 15 seconds of rest before you start the next one. And it's basically like 10 rounds of work. But I mean, you can do like a 15-minute EMOM. I mean, there's no like, it's kind of boundless, right? Like
Yeah,
there's just
no.
all these variations that, but that's how I would structure it. And so, I was like, okay, like I write EMOMs. I'm the Imam company.
Yeah.
Like that's how
Yeah,
it
man.
started. Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's funny though, because imams 100%, like you're saying, are the best way to kind of keep yourself in check in the moment as well. Because you're like,
Mhm.
well, if I kind of drag, then you have less time to rest and relax. So it's just like have the output and make sure it's
Yeah.
there, and it'll save you, you know, time in the
Yeah.
long
100%.
term. So just kind of crank it
Yeah.
out.
And now I will say, like over the years, we've like people are like, oh, man, I don't want to do just imams. Like I don't want to do like we don't just do imams. Like that's how we started. That was where we like that was the specialty, like the little niche we had. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you followed any of our programs, you'd quickly realize like there's maybe 2 imams a week, except for the 30-day challenge where we got 30 straight days of imams.
I did see that,
Yeah.
just 30 days email. I was like, oh man, that's, I was
Mm,
looking at the workout too. I'm like, I think I'm gonna save this reel. I think I'm gonna do
yeah.
this one, just because, that's the way life kind of works is you get short on time, but you don't ever allow that to shortchange you, just
Yeah.
you could still execute and still get through the things. So in your time, because you are a father, right? And a
Mhm.
husband. So
Yes, sir.
what are some of the core aspects and habits that have helped you balance life as a full blown adult who has giant responsibilities, and
Yeah.
um, yeah.
Yeah. Someone recently asked me this the other day, like, man, how do you balance it all? Uh, mm. I'm like, well, my all is actually a pretty short list. I've just learned to say no to a lot of things.
Mm,
There are 3 things that I love to do every single day, and I do them every single day from the time I wake up until the time I go to sleep. And that is work, spend time with my family, Kristen and Grayson, and then I exercise. And when you've only got 3 things to do every single day, it's pretty easy to find time to do all 3. And that's
mm,
how I balance what's important to me. Thing is, I say no to a lot. I don't spend a whole lot of time with friends during the week. We try to spend time with friends on family on the weekends. Um, I don't really watch TV. And so if I'm not spending time with Kristen and Grayson, I'm either working or exercising. If I'm not working or exercising, I'm spending time with Kristen and Grayson. And if I'm not working or if I'm not exercising or spending time with Kristen and Grayson, I'm working. So
absolutely.
and then the other thing is like, dude, you've gotta make time for the things that are important. Um, you know, I slept 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 54 minutes is what my clock registered last night. Kristen and Grace, or not
Oof.
Kristen and Grayson. Grayson was, I mean, he's teething. I mean, he was up for
Mm,
hours last night,
yep.
and the alarm goes off at 4 a.m. I get up, and like it doesn't really matter how tired I am. Every single morning, I'm up at 4 a.m. and I grab a cup of coffee, walk upstairs, turn on my computer, and start working every single day.
Simple. Keep it clean and simple, right?
3
Just
things.
consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that's cool. So have you always been pretty uh obviously you had to cultivate this person that you became over
Sure.
time, what would you say were some of the hardest habits to kind of break? Is because like for me, I will fully admit it's definitely watching movies. I think just big movie junkie, stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I started to learn, especially even starting to do more workout videos and podcasting. I'm like, oh, I don't have time. I have to take notes. I have to do these. I want to make sure I'm putting out an effective product as well.
Yeah.
What would you say were some of the hard things for you?
Um, I think it was like over 2 decades. I'm 31 now. And like I told you, like whenever I was in high school, I would wake up in the morning, I'd go run or do push-ups and pull-ups and skip rope in my backyard. Like I'd work out every single morning. I'd cook my own breakfast, pack my own lunch, walk over to school, go to school all day, then go to wrestling practice, stay late, drill, go home, probably work out again. Then I'd do homework, go to sleep. And like it was around then when it was there was a time when my dad used to get upset with me because I spent too much time scrolling on the internet, looking at stupid videos on YouTube, whatever,
Hmm.
instead of like studying or training or whatever. And it was whenever I was a sophomore, um, and I started getting some decent success as a wrestler, and ended up on like this as a starter as a sophomore in high school, where I realized like, okay, like if I want to be really good at something, I've just got to be able to give up a lot of other things that other people aren't willing to give up in
Hmm.
order to get the success that I want. And so around that time, I was like, okay, like it became easier to say no. It's a positive feedback loop, right? And so if I can give up something and give myself a little bit extra time to work and just be a little bit more disciplined than someone else is, and then recognize the benefits and the success that might come from it, if I can have little things that give me that positive feedback, it's way easier to say no to that thing in the future. And then you get another positive feedback loop, and then you just start getting more disciplined with it. And so I mean, it's like you can train your brain through positive feedbacks. Like there's a book, Atomic Habits. It's like if
Love
you want to
that book.
build a yeah, if you, right, like in the book he says like if you want to build a habit, you have to have a positive feedback loop every time you complete the task that you want to become a habit, right?
Yep.
And so over 2 decades of cutting things out and recognizing the positive feedback from it, you just like you're like, okay, like it becomes easier and easier. It's not
Yeah.
an overnight thing. It takes time and it takes like, some trial and error. But just like you said, like you realize I don't have time to watch the movie right now. I need to write notes. When you write notes, you realize, okay, like I'm doing better at interviewing my guests. So now next time, whenever I can either write notes or watch the movie, I'm like, no, I remember how good it felt to have a good interview, so I'm gonna write the notes instead.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think one of the things that I have encountered, especially a lot, is when you're like, younger in your 20s and stuff like that, you're like, oh, let's go out, let's go do this, let's go do that. And you don't realize how much like time you've burned and you have nothing to show for it. And
Yeah,
I didn't really realize that until this year. I just like, I got back and had some big life changes and I was like, okay, this cannot be the same as last year. Like I can't do this. I can't keep going out. I can't keep drinking, just spending mindless money for no reason. And I still have nothing to show for it, like at all. And so it's like you said, you just build those tiny habits, like a little bit here, even small steps. Like I was talking
mhm,
to Kat, she was one of my first interviews and she was 1 year sober and she's about to go train for a marathon, I think tomorrow or something like that too. But she said she had to have these small micro successes. When she was in recovery, she's like, okay, I just got to do this. I just got to shower. I just got to drive myself to work. I just, so it's all these small micro things that accumulate over time. And, you get to see the success, like, and that's far more fulfilling than the micro unsuccessful things, you
absolutely.
build a habit of.
And you can draw the similarities into so many different things, and I love the stock market, so I'll draw like the similarity over to the market. You invest just a couple $100 a month for a long time, it feels like you're doing nothing. You're doing nothing. And then compound growth, which is the same with building really good habits that have benefits and growth internally or externally for yourself, they start to compound over time. And then like a decade down the line, you're like, wow, like the money I have in the market is over 50% just interest.
Mm.
And I only did half the work, right? Like it's like all these little stacking pennies day after
Mhm.
day, and like they start to grow and grow and grow. And then like you realize like, wow, like that's just a couple $100. That's two dinners a week, right? Like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
going out one weekend. And like it's like, okay, I made this really small sacrifice just to do this little bitty thing, but over time it stacked up and it made massive difference in my life. And so
100%.
like, dude, positive feedback loops.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, having others around you, like you said, you kind of keep your priorities pretty much in order, right? You're like, I do these three things, and these three things will set me up for success. And you mentioned like you kind of cut back a little bit, right? Like you can't be 100% for your friends, but you can't be 100% there as a dad all the time, and stuff like that. So what are some of the things you learned? Because you said, like growing up, your dad was like, man, this kid's watching all these videos. So, uh, what are the differences in your childhood growing up? Obviously your child, you said he's teething, so he's a wee lad right now.
Yeah. Yeah, he's 9
um,
months old.
yeah, just a little stud. What are some things that you would hope to, eventually instill because, you are the example, you are the
Mhm.
lead of the house, and all that. And so what are some major things that you reflect on yourself to make sure you are that husband for one, but also that father? Um,
Yeah. Well, I think you prefaced the question beautifully because you said you are the example. And so daily, I think about my son will see how I act, regardless of the words I tell him, like, hey, you need to treat XYZ you need to treat adults with respect. And you say, yes, sir. You need to say, no, ma'am, please and thank you. But if he doesn't
mm,
see me doing any of those things, he's way less likely to listen and replicate. And so daily, the question in my mind is, okay, who do I want my son to be? Well, one, I want him to be better than I ever could have been,
hmm
which means that I have to hold myself to a higher standard than I did yesterday. And so he needs to see me treat his mother with respect, to hold her and love her and care for her, to hug and kiss her, to hug and kiss him and his siblings, to treat my parents with respect. He needs to see me go out and drag a kill home in terms of I've got to go work every single day. He needs to see me work my butt off to create a life that my family can be proud of. So I need him to learn work ethic from me. I need him to see me take care of my body and mind. He needs to see me in the gym like as a discipline, as a non-negotiable, to have a good diet, to eat well, to go to church and pray, to read and to learn and to be curious, to stand up for what's right. He needs to see me have to stand up for what I believe in and not be afraid to speak what my heart says, right? And I mean that's something in the past that I struggled with, was like, dude, I would see things on the street where I'm like, I should probably interject, and I didn't because I was
Mm,
scared. And I hope he sees me have enough confidence and strength to do or say the right thing, right? Because
absolutely.
what I need Grayson to be is whenever he walks out the door for the last time and he's going to start his own life and his own journey and write his own book and start his own family, he needs to be stronger than I ever was and be a capable and formidable human being who can go achieve anything that he wants. And then on
Absolutely.
the other side of that, which also runs through my mind 24/7, is I've got to I've got to create an environment where he can take risks and not be afraid to fail.
Have that security and comfort to know, like, hey, I'm gonna try this, um, but I have the guidance and wisdom of my father behind me.
Correct. Like, he needs to know that his family is going to be a safety net so that he can go. And I've talked to my father-in-law about this. I've talked to my dad about it as well. I want to create a situation for my kids that they have a safety net where they know that they can go mess up taking risks, working extremely hard. And when I say like go mess up taking risks, I don't mean like go party in college, go, do like try drugs, whatever. That's not
Hmm.
the mess up I'm talking about. I'm talking about attempted to go to med school, attempt to go to law school, like try something that's daunting and fear, like scary, to go start a new business, like
Mm,
to try something that if it succeeds, they will have unmeasured success. But if they fail, I've got them. And that's what I want my kids to know. But that requires, one, a trust, and two, a work ethic.
yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because you mentioned something. You said, you identified where your shortcoming was, where at times you wouldn't step in. Just maybe you didn't have that firm confidence just quite yet. It takes forever to develop everything, and you never will. Yeah, there's always
Right.
something to work on. But that's actually something I am very mindful about telling my, for all my friends in our 20s, because everyone's like, man, dude, I haven't found a girlfriend, or haven't, just those venting sessions. And I'm like, man, I'm not even worried about that. I was like, think about it, like the man you're cultivating right now, all the insecurities you're working on or that you're identifying, like you did, um, your future wife and your children are going to get the next better version of you. Right. So it's
Absolutely.
like, it's not like you can't develop on being a good husband or father, because the second that role becomes part of you, you are not there. It's that person you cultivated in that role
Right.
over time,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
as far as like habits and stuff like that, everything will come into play. It's just that cultivation, that step by step, kind of just like what you're saying, over time, where um you got to identify, right? You
Yeah.
got to self-reflect.
Yeah. Absolutely. Self-reflection is a big part of it, because you got to have like those daily check-ins, those looks in the mirror, like, okay, like, am I doing what I need to do? And in fact, that's one of the every time I pray at night with my wife, like that's one of the things we pray for, is like, God, help me to do the things that I need to do to walk the path that you need me to walk. And
Yep.
like, it's a lot of reflection. Like, am I being the man that I want my wife to have and my son to see?
Mhm.
That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, and but it is your responsibility, right? It's a lot,
100%.
but it's the person you build, through him, uh, be able to support all the responsibilities and stuff like that. And it's not like through all this suffering and stuff like that, you're becoming a worse man.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing is like, well, it's like you only get better. Like, yeah, this sucks, dude. Like waking up. Yeah. My alarm goes off at 4:15 every morning. I'm like, oh my gosh, this sucks, dude. But it's like, well, I'm not getting worse. Right.
Yeah.
So like, even if you have a bad workout, you have, oh man, I was so tired at work today. I just had an extra cup of coffee. It's like, yeah, all this sucked, but I'm a little bit better, and it's
Absolutely.
just those micro steps that eventually will pay off in the end. And, you will be able to pour into someone else, whether that be a friend or your wife or your child,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, with you, running your company, still staying super fit, being a dad, being a husband, what are your goals, like your personal goals, and then what goals would you like to see for your company as well, the Imam company?
Yeah, so I've got 3 different companies. 2 of them are in medical physics. One of them's atomics medical physics. The other one's R&D medical physics. One I own by myself. One I own with my father. And then I've got the Imam company. Like I said, I went to school for
Oof.
8 years to be a physicist. That's like I started Imam Co as a physicist, right? And so I still do both professions, and I'll consider like both medical physics companies under one umbrella. It's the same work, same regions. Like there's not a whole lot of delineation in terms of the responsibilities there. But I started Imam Co on the side, and it's grown into like something that's quite formidable. And so we still do it. Me and my brother-in-law both work full time, and we both run the Imam company. And and so it's an interesting question to wonder where they're going to go, or to have the goals of where we want them to go. And we have like some numbers in mind in terms of like the Imam company, some member numbers we'd love to hit. Um, and then like with physics, it'd be, I've got a vision of buying other practices, lumping them in, and just like growing it to a larger scale, and hopefully stepping into a role where I'm more in like a leading role in terms of physics, and in teaching other medical physicists how to run what I do.
Okay.
And both of those, and I actually had this question asked me, like, do you just want to grow the companies just for the sake of growth? And the answer is no. Like, I want to grow
Hmm.
the companies for the sake of security and freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, on top of all that, I think the number one goal, which again is in my prayers every night, so that I can serve the people that I do serve as absolute best as I can. So as a physicist, like I want to make the day of the people that I work with the best. I want to serve every need that they have, make their day better, make their jobs easier, and do it to a very high level. That's the number one goal that I have above growth or scaling or whatever.
Mm.
Like my goal is to simply serve my clients as best as I possibly can. In terms of UMOM company, like it's the same thing. Like I want to serve every single member that we have as best as I can. Can I write the best program that is effective and engaging and enjoyable, so that they want to keep coming back to the gym and make that part of their life an easier decision, and not something that they dread, or something they got to go find a new program
Mm.
that's going to be more engaging or whatever. And so like those are the things that like those are the number one goals I have, is to perfect the craft so that the people that I serve have the best product and service from me.
Wow. Well said, man.
Thank you.
Definitely that servant attitude for sure. Humbles you, and it gets you very, very uh, uh, a lot more fulfillment when you're able to feel and give back to
Yeah.
others for sure.
Well, look, dude, I'm not entitled to anything that I have. I'm not entitled to the contracts I have with all the hospitals that I've got. I'm not entitled to your subscription to my program. I know that freely and in a moment's notice that those contracts could be null and void. I know freely that like if they don't like the program, they can find another. And so my job is to serve them as best I can, because I'm not entitled to a dollar from anyone, right?
Mm, Wow. Yeah. That's pretty good, man. That's a really good attitude behind that. I've never heard that. So got some
Yes, sir.
wisdom on me. Yeah. That's great, man. I love that. And then what would you say is something like as part of the person you've been able to cultivate and, have your hand in all kinds of different, pots and stuff like that. What would you say, from a non-prideful, aspect, you've learned to do well up to this point, like personally, and then what's something you would like to work on, as you continue to
Hmm.
develop yourself on a personal level?
Yeah. I think I've learned pretty well to do the monotonous work with joy in my heart. Um, like I mean, I've been writing the Imam Company program uh every day for the past 3 or 4 years. We've got like 4 or 5 different tracks. Each track's got 3 or 4 different workouts within each track. There's 7 days a week. 5 of them are programmed. If you do the math, that's thousands of workouts, and we rarely repeat one.
Mm, that's a lot.
And so there's been times when it has been a grind uh from a motivation standpoint to continue to do the thing, especially whenever you lose like confidence in whether what you're doing is the right way or not. And so to cultivate the discipline to do the monotonous boring things every day with a high degree of satisfaction and joy is a tough skill. um on the physics side of things, like it's similar to wake up every day and be excited to go to the next job site and perform my duties with a smile on my face and joy in my heart. That I've learned to do really well, and over the probably the past year I've learned to really love just the process of the grind.
Mm,
Like, okay, like if I was like, the question I asked myself is like, if I had to do this forever, would I be happy doing it? And there were times in the past where I was like, dude, I don't want to do this forever. But I wasn't enjoying what I was doing, and I didn't look at it the way that I do now.
mm,
And so that's an easy way to get burnt out on what you're doing and look for the next thing that you think is going to be fulfilling or exciting or whatever. But I've learned to really love the monotonous, like the everyday 3 things that I do. I work, I spend time with my family, and I train. Um, the thing that I still want to work on, I think, is taking constructive criticism without getting down on myself and upset, man. Um, you know, that being afraid of what the future might hold is something that, you know, I think that's a trust in God. Um, Anxiety, which is like a fear of what may or may not come,
mhm.
is simply a lack of trust in the creator. And I've been able to work on that quite a bit. I still struggle with it at times. Um, and so that's one of those things that I'd like to be better at. Um, continually improving and changing and doing things quickly. Um, to move with urgency, not to rush, not to be in a hurry, but to move with
Mhm.
urgency. You know.
Okay.
So, and then patience. Like, dude,
Patience.
that's such a big thing in the game of life is patience for what you want.
Mhm.
I think whenever I was up probably up until about maybe less than a year ago, I wanted to get there fast. I wanted to go where I was going so fast, so
Oh,
I could be
yeah.
happy. So I could be happy finally.
Mhm.
I was like, man, I just need to get where I'm going to that next goalpost, which I know is going to move whenever I get there. But if I can get there, then I can be happy. I was like, damn, dude, I've been on this earth 3 decades and I haven't been happy for one of them.
Mm. In the process.
Yeah.
It's through the process where you find the micro joys, you find the micro fulfillments, all the micro challenges, everything,
Yes,
that
sir.
small feedback of happiness, right?
That's right.
Thanks, man. Well, I appreciate you, carving out time in your busy schedule, to come and, speak to us. And I really do value your time and your words.
Thank you.
Definitely so much wisdom that you've accrued over time, and even then, right? Like you said, you have many things to work on, but for sure, I know for me, I was very, very, taken, I guess you just don't know sometimes what's behind the scenes, right? Because you see social media, you see cool videos, workout videos, stuff like that, but when you get down to it, everybody's just figuring out their way, right? And everybody
Absolutely.
is figuring out their path and trying to navigate it as such. And I'm very grateful that you were able to, because if I took some away from this, I know other people are going to as well. And
Thank you.
definitely, I know that everything that you're going to do, you have a great head on your shoulders for sure. So
I sure hope so.
yeah.
Look, man, it's funny. I had a conversation with a good friend of mine earlier this week, and we were talking about business, and we both know millionaires, billionaires, like, dude, people uber successful. And you might look at them like, man, they got it all put together. Like they did the damn thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they got the life. And then when you like get into conversations, you're like, man, their life's like, it's got a lot of challenges. It's tough. Like it's, I don't know if like I have the same opinion as I
Yeah.
did. And the thing is, the more you get into the weeds with people, you realize people got like all this shit that they're walking through,
Mm-hmm.
and like, dude, everybody's going through it. Everybody's got their story and their origins. And so I think that's the fun thing about the conversations is you can kind of be like, okay, like if I get to know you a little bit, you're not that different from me. And
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think from talking from, you know, Samantha, who owns her own business, to Delaney, who does, a bunch of hybrid and DECA races, and Kat, who's on her, sobriety journey and now running marathons, and then talking to you, seeing everything you do, you start to see a lot of the similarities when it comes to, just like the things that set you on the right path, the narrow path, in fact, for success and fulfillment, like there's so many different paths, but, the more difficult fulfilling ones tend to be a lot more tighter. Like you said, you've had to cut off a lot of things and just focus on your 3 priorities. And ultimately, as much stress as it brings, it probably alleviates a lot of stress as well, because your mind's not going to 13 different places, but your efforts are just going into 3,
Yes, sir.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. But thank you. I appreciate your time again. And I look forward to the process. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks, man.